Cheers! Welcome to the Pit Stop,
the official recap show for Season 2 of Underground's Drag Race.
with me, Ruby George.
And me, Ricky Morales.
Episode 2, Drag Groups.
Woo! This week's challenge consisted of the groups having to write and record their own verses, create choreography, and perform as a cohesive group.
The guest judges this week were Winter Storm and Pamela B. Carnes.
Ooh.
Fitting.
So if you were tuned in last week, you know that our three groups consisted of Sella, Marzipan, and Looky Lou. That's one group. Our second group was Sheena Spice, Maddie Valley, and Regina George. And our third group was Shady Ho, Evie Estetas, and Tara Bishop.
Mary Jane had a representative from each group come forward to roll Clairvoyant's Mario Party die to determine the order in which the groups would go. Sella, Sheena, and Evie took their chances, and Sheena came out on top.
So Sheena decided that Celery's group would go first, her group would go second, and Evie Estetas' group would go third.
What do you think the strategy was there?
I don't think there was any strategy. I personally think it was a matter of comfortability because I was thinking to myself, what would I have been the most comfortable picking? And it probably would have been that order.
I would have wanted to go first or last because they're the most memorable. I think putting yourself in the middle enables you to be more forgettable.
Maybe Sheena felt they needed to be a little forgettable. If you know you might mess up, maybe you want to put yourself in between two people so it's not so obvious.
So it was strategy. Valid.
Yeah. So for each group, we're going to cover the group concept, their song choice, their verses and any standout lyrics we noticed, as well as their choreography. And if we need to highlight anything else, we will.
The first group was Gender Bend, consisting of Celery, Marzipan, and Looky Lou.
I thought their identity was very clear. It was gender bending is relevant to everyone in the group.
I think it's especially relevant with their group, Marzipan and Looky Lou.
Yeah.
Both do a lot of gender bending, and then Sella is, very different in drag than she is out of drag as well. So I feel like maybe they both all felt that honored their drag.
And their look was cohesive to me. Neon, see-through, sparkle punks.
I think they were the most cohesive group, and I think it was very clear that they worked well together, that they had a similar vision, and they had a fun time with working together.
The song they chose was Let's Have a Kiki by the Scissor Sisters. I thought it was brilliant.
Love that song.
I think the song has a great tempo, and I think it has a great length for three people to be showcased.
And I think that song has a lot of speaking parts, a lot of monologuing, so it's kind of easier to play around with the beat and just have fun with it, and not necessarily be the best rapper or the best singer.
What did you think about the verses? Were there any standout lyrics?
For me, I thought in the beginning it was cute on the little phone call part.
That was my favorite.
Yeah, it was my favorite in the beginning with the little phone call part when Sella was talking about, there should have been a break last week. I thought that was hilarious, a good nod to what's already been going on and funny. And I loved shouting out Winner and Marjorie. And I loved Looky Lou's I'm in your dad's bed line.
I thought that all of their verses were relevant to themselves as individuals, themselves in the competition, and themselves as a group. And I love that they closely followed the original tempo and writing of the song.
And to me, Looky Lou's verse was my favorite. I thought it was the most fun, and I thought he emoted it very well, and it was very funny, and it was very clear. I could hear almost everything he said. What did you think about their choreography?
I thought they had a fantastic use of the stage, use of props. They had interactions with the judges, and a variety of both synchronized and individual movements.
I second all of that. My main critique is that I noticed that during some of the verses, it seemed like they were not very well positioned. Like it looked like they almost wanted to have a triangle, but it was off center. It seemed like maybe they didn't exactly remember all the time what their background choreo was supposed to be. I did notice that in all of the verses, but particularly during Celery's verse. That's the only critique. Is there anything you want to highlight in this group that you found really stand out or that needs to be mentioned still?
I think they had the best characterization, and it looked like they were having the most fun. And I think that that's really important for a drag group.
I agree with that. They seemed the most confident, most fun. And Looky Lou was my favorite. I think he really stood out. His emoting was great. He was so fun.
I can't pick a favorite.
I mean, it's very difficult. I think they all did super well.
Yeah.
There's something about Mr. Lou.
Something about that sleazy man.
Yup. I'm in your dad's bed. All right, and for our second group, we had Girly Pops with Sheena Spice, Maddie Valley, and Regina George. What did we think about their group concept?
to me, it was not very clear or strong. Anybody could be called girly pops. Like, there are girls who pop. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like, and to be fair, people could be gender benders, but I feel like that's very specific to those three. And I'm like, they missed the obvious, like, what are obvious things that we know these three have in common? All three of those performers in this group are drag children of Blue Darling. So, like, why weren't they all wearing blue? Why weren't they called Blues Angels, Blues Darlings? Like, there could have been some work there.
Yeah, I don't know if they were like afraid to lead into the house thing, but
Which they should not be afraid.
They should not be. So they could have just been House of Darlin. Like, fuck it, own it, be confident.
Yeah. Their theme was clearly black and PVC leather with a signature color. The problem for me was both Sheena and Maddie had the signature color as a part of their outfit, and they were wearing neutral hair colors. Vagina was wearing only black, had like neck to toe, and then had like a pink wig. For me, Vagina did not fit in with Sheena and Maddie.
Yeah, and it's extra true because Maddie and Sheena were both wearing like skirts.
Yeah.
And their signature color was like a part of their tops and also in the accents of their skirts as well. Whereas Vagina was wearing a bodysuit. And I think that was actually a good moment for her to stand out because they could have looked like, oh, they're kind of like at her side.
And she looked incredible.
And she looked incredible, but because she lacked some of the pink, it actually just made her look out of sync instead, unfortunately. So for their song, they chose to rework Come Through by Priyanka featuring Lemon. What do you think about the song choice?
I thought it was a horrible choice. Okay.
It's a great song.
It's a great song. It's not recognizable. I know that song. That song is in my Spotify library. Didn't recognize it when it started.
Oh.
And you know why? Because the only part of the song people care about is Lemon's verse. The song is a duet, and this drag group is 3 people, so that's hard to work with. And the song is extremely fast-paced with lots of lyrics. So if you're trying to match the song, you have to write a lot and rap quickly.
Yeah, which is very difficult to do. I think also the beat wasn't as versatile as the other group's choices.
100%.
I think it was a very difficult beat to choose. It's a great beat. It's fun. I mean, especially when Lemon's verse comes on, that's an amazing beat.
Yeah.
But it is a lot to tackle. And also it's very short. The song is very short. That makes an opportunity to have a really great, short, to the point performance that just misses no marks. But if you're missing marks, you don't have a lot to work with. What did you think about their verses and their lyrics?
I hated the structure. The biggest issue for me was the fact that Maddie walked out, Sheena walked out, they said one word, and then Vagina's verse started. So there was no time, because of the structure of the verses, to establish the group identity, to work as a group primarily. That set the tone for the lack of cohesion.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
I think that could have been okay had Vagina's verse been stronger, but it definitely still wouldn't have helped them. Maybe they should have tried to either edit in another chorus in the beginning somehow or completely change the song.
Any standout lyrics?
Yeah, I thought it was really cute and funny that Maddie Belly called herself the legs of Buffalo. Like, come on.
Start branding now, ladies.
Start branding now. I think that's fair. I mean, you see her when she dances. Those legs are real. Those legs are real. Another bold lyric that stood out, for better or for worse, was Sheena calling the rest of the competitors bricks and pointing to the backstage. Did you peep that?
No, I did not. I missed that.
One of her lines basically said the rest of them are bricks.
Love
something
that.
to that effect. I mean, it worked. It worked in the verse. But it was very bold. And I mean, Sheena's makeup is good, but when you have marzipan and celery backstage, that's just crazy. I'm sorry. And Evie and Shady, I don't know. I don't think there's any bricks back there, baby.
We're writing music. We're not writing nonfiction. We can say whatever we want.
I mean, I guess you can say whatever you want, but I feel like when you should be able to back up a diss track. Like, that is the main thing of rap. When I got on and I said, drag king realness, get them hot and bothered, I can back that up, okay?
Yeah.
Week 1 winner, set the bar high up, okay?
Facts.
And when I keep killing queens, then what? Like, and I did for a while, so like, the rest of them are bricks? Girl! Let's go check that mirror. So, in terms of the choreography, what did you think about the choreography?
I have mixed feelings because I thought that each of them had actually pretty good individual choreography, but I think they lacked cohesion in terms of choreography as a group. I don't think they used the stage as much as they could have, and I don't think they had a large variety of the types of movement they had.
I think the synchronized posing could have worked if it was more synchronized and more leaned into. I think because of the fact that it was out of sync, it just didn't work for them. And I do agree with the use of stage. I think at some points you can tell that they were trying to be in a triangle formation.
Yeah.
And then Sheena and Vagina were both almost standing next to whoever was in front. And then Maddie was actually standing in that triangle. formation. So either they were supposed to be in a line, which I highly doubt knowing that stage, and highly doubt just having been in groups, or they were supposed to be more triangular, and that just was not happening. They should have. We only have so much space. Actually, use the space you have. Stand back a few steps.
Yeah. Any final thoughts on the group?
So I do think there was some highlights in their choreography. I absolutely loved their bridge choreography. When Sheena hit the handstand.
That was really fierce.
And Maddie Valley held her up, made a great facial expression like, ah. And I also think the lift during Maddie's verse.
Yeah, that went well.
Was great. Another standout was when Maddie Valley hit the dip at the end of her verse. It just went and dipped down. Honestly showed a lot of people in Buffalo how to do it. I think I can only name maybe 1 or 2 people I've seen do it better.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah.
It looked effortless. And then also Sheena Spice saying check your splits before you come for me and hitting the split.
That was fierce as fuck.
As a fellow split lover, you got that.
That was really cunty.
Yeah. There was some really high highs. There was just unfortunately a lot of low lows.
Yeah. Okay.
And in terms of their choreography, it was just unfortunately obvious that they were out of sync and that unfortunately maybe Vegeta was struggling to maybe keep up with the choreo of it.
Our third group of the night was the House of Ho. Evie Estetas, Tara Bishop, and Shady Ho. What did you think of their concept?
Their concept seemed to be black and red.
Yep.
Black and red, which is very on brand for all of them. Yes, I love a black and red, so I understand. So it was very on brand for all of them, but as a fellow black and red lover, I mean, one, that's kind of foreplay nachos.
Completely eaten.
And I feel like we added an extra element to it because we were playing off of our like heights, and then we also had the coats that we revealed into like a different red outfit. Whereas I think for them, they just all came out in black and red, and they all looked great. They all looked stunning.
Oh yeah.
But I felt like maybe it was a bit basic, but also it was very on brand for all of them and they all looked great, so I think that's at least a plus. I think better to play it safe and do it very well than try and do something new and do it badly, I guess.
You know what else is foreplay nachos? One of them was wearing maroon. Tara and Evie were wearing black and red PVC, and Shay was wearing a very, very dark red, almost maroon, and black gown that was stoned. So it definitely felt like a departure from like PVC leather fetish.
Yeah, and I really loved the shape of
the shoulder
outfit,
spikes were fabulous.
An amazing outfit, just a little off.
The song that they made verses for was Lose My Breath by Destiny's Child. What did you think of that choice?
Ooh, I love this song.
I gagged!
The moment I heard the beat come on and them come out, I was like, great song choice. I think it's a great song choice that's not a RuPaul's or drag related song, but it has a great beat and it has a similar verse, chorus vibe that works very well for this challenge. And it has a good beat for choreography as well. And I think also the beat is good for both rapping and singing, which I think was very important to this group's vision.
Also, it's instantly recognizable. As soon as the curtains opened and I heard the dun, 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 with the drum beat and Tara like military marching, I was locked in.
Yes, like that is a girl group. Down. Destiny's Child, great choice.
Definition. Also, it's a trio, and there were 3 of them. Perfect choice, easy, no-brainer.
Yeah, this is a favorite song of mine, so I was thrilled to hear it out. I have it on my gym playlist. I listen to it. I listen to it at least once a week, if not more.
You lose your breath.
Oh yes, I'm in the gym dancing to that song. Like in between sets, I'm like, I wish I was in their group. So, love this song. What did you think about their reworking of the verses or any standout lyrics to you?
I loved that Evie continued the cadence of the rapping and the singing from Beyonce's verse. I thought it was fantastic. I think she redeemed herself vocally from the critiques that she had last week. Tara had my favorite line of the entire night.
Same.
She said, "Ooh, you dropped something, the win." It was so cunty.
I loved. That was my favorite line. Maybe of the whole night, honestly.
I would say it was my favorite of the whole night. So for best lines of the episode, Tara is 2 for 2 in my book.
Oh yeah.
Because last week, I liked her entrance line.
Okay, yes. Tara has some very punchy lines. She's showing herself to be that bitch.
She ate that shit up.
Tara had probably one of my favorite verses.
Really?
Too, in general. I liked the way I liked everything she had to say on her verse. I thought it was very punchy, to the point, fun. I liked that she chose to like speak a bit and just say fuck the beat a little bit. Sorry, Tara, for saying that you're offbeat. You were offbeat. But it worked. And when she did it, she sold it. Those words looked like they were coming out of her mouth. She had a mic on. You couldn't tell me nothing.
I enjoy a spoken word moment that completely disregards the beat. I just wish it hadn't been so much of her verse. Okay, and what did we think of the group's choreography?
I thought their choreography was good. I thought they had good energy, good use of the stage, and good individual moments as well. My only thing was I love this song so much. I grew up dancing in my room to this song, making up choreography, and to me, I loved that they had some of the rhythm, but I want to see like hands on the knees, twerk, twerk, like I wanted more of that very like stepping, hip-hoppy, popping, almost crumpy sort of vibe mixed into it. I think they missed an opportunity to do a little bit more of that, and those aren't actually that hard of moves. Like,
well, I want to see more, like, lose my breath. Let's get that chest going.
hit some floor work with it, pop, pop, like.
Or moves where they're fanning themselves. Like,
Yeah.
that's hot.
It would have been a really good way to look cohesive. I loved their circling, like the way they circled each other within their verses. So to add the popping moments to that, I think would have been sickening. It would have taken them over the top. One thing about drag groups this season compared to last season was that they only had 1 week to do all of what we did in 2 weeks on our bye week for Pride weekend in Buffalo. To be fair, plenty of us had Pride gigs, but we still had an extra week to work with. And we spent 1 week just really making our track, and the next week doing a lot of the choreography. And I think that made a big difference in the quality of the tracks and the quality of the choreo, at least.
Clock it. I 100% agree. I think the production quality of every song this year was lower than both of the qualities last year, and I 100% think it's because of time. I also think the dynamics were different this year because there were 3 groups. Last year when there were only 2 groups, it was so easy to pick the side of the war that you were on. Foreplay versus CMN Kush. This year, I feel like all the attention was divided because it was 3 groups, and there was no like band loyalty for people to have, and I kind of miss that energy.
I get that production wanted to have 3 groups and do it earlier, like 3 groups of 3. It was a very cute idea. Groups did amazing for the time that they had, especially with everybody having day jobs and other things that they're working on, and plenty of other gigs as well with Pride coming up. But I think the time just changed things. I'm excited to see how they do this challenge next season.
Yeah, and with that, we had all 3 groups perform, and what came next was judges' deliberation. And it was decided that contestants would be judged individually, not as groups. That was a gag.
Yeah.
Because it was a departure from last year. Last year, we were judged as groups.
So first for our placements this week, the judges decided that Shady Ho, Sheena Spice, and Tara Bishop were safe.
And Sheena was gagged.
Down.
Also, most of the audience was gagged.
I was not gagged.
I was. But to be fair, I was gagged in the moment. After reviewing the tapes, I'm not as gagged.
She was a very high save.
Yes. And she did get a shout out from the judges that she was.
Sheena, you were definitely the people's choice this week, and you should be proud of that. So congrats to Sheena on being the people's choice of the top 3, I guess.
She really was.
Yes, I disagree with a lot of the people. But you were the people's choice, so you deserve praise there.
I was one of the people that night saying, where was Sheena?
Our top 3 was...
all of Gender Bend.
Yay, Gender Bend!
So Celery, Marzipan, and Looky Lou all placed in the top 3.
And that left in the bottom, Maddie Valley, Regina George, and Evie Estetas.
Do you agree with who is in the top, bottom, and safe?
I think so. I think that was fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think all of the critiques lined up with where people ended up.
I agree with the placements as well, and I think I would agree with that based on both individual and group dynamics. But I will say this, everyone did have a moment where they shined. I don't think anyone was a total flop tonight, so I do see why multiple people were like, robbed diva, she needed to be in the top, etc. Like, I get why that happened.
And the winner of this week's challenge is... Celery! Do you agree with the winner this week?
I think everyone in Gender Bend did amazing. I don't think Sela did poorly at all. But Sela missed the start of both her phone intro and her verse by a very, very short amount of time, but enough for me to notice that her mouth was not moving and that I heard her words. So for me, I was leaning towards Mars because of strong characterization and acting. I mean, they all had good verses and good lyrics, so like I wouldn't put any one of them above the other on that. But also I was visually drawn to Mars the most out of the 3 of them, combined with all of that. So to me, I would give Mars 2 wins in a row. And I don't give a fuck if that's controversial, because I think there were weeks where I should have won multiple weeks in a row. So I don't care. People can win multiple weeks in a row. It's okay.
If it's deserved, it's deserved.
Would it be controversial to give Mars 2 wins in a row? Maybe. But if they were judged as groups, Mars would have gotten 2 wins in a row anyway, because everyone in Mars's group would have gotten a win. That's all I'm saying.
That is fair. I personally think they all had an argument to win this week. Anybody in gender bend, if they would have gotten the W for this week, would have deserved their W. I think I leaned a little bit more towards Looky Lou, just because I loved his verse. I thought it was the clearest, and he had that characterization that he always has that's amazing. I do see the argument for Mars because her look was so visually appealing, but so was Cella's. I do think Lookie's could have been a little bit more polished.
Yeah.
But I did notice Mars seem a little bit confused or out of it. Maybe it was because her top was coming down during her verse. And I did notice a second where that was off. So really an argument for anybody. I leaned towards Looky Lou, but really Celery did a solid job all around, and she looked solid as well. So I see why even with her flubs, she might have gotten that W. She deserved that W still.
Each of them deserved a W for a different reason.
All right, and then the judges decided that Maddie Valley was safe from the bottom three, and that left Vegina and Evie to lip sync for their lives. Do you agree?
I would agree. I think Maddie hit all of her lyrics, and she had fantastic choreo. I can't say the same for Vegina hitting all of her choreo, and I can't say the same for Evie hitting all of her lyrics, which is a repeated issue from last week.
I also agree with that. I think Willa DeWisp rightly pointed out that Maddie Valley hits that choreo down and really stood out in that way. So she clearly was a cut above the rest and got to stay safe this week.
That left Evie and Vegina to lip sync for their life to Judas by Lady Gaga. Let's talk about it.
Love the song choice.
Phenomenal song choice. Everyone in the club was like, yeah!
I think the gays are rising.
The gays rose.
Love the lip sync songs
Oh, yeah.
this season so far.
I'm loving them.
Modern classics.
The first thing I wrote down was, in all caps, 8.
My first note was, that's a lip sync.
It was so good. So sorry to last week's lip sync. This lip sync just beat your ass.
The crowd was absolutely enthralled during this lip sync.
Screaming, hand gestures, talking to the contestants as they were lip syncing, completely involved. And I was doing all of those, completely involved.
I was completely involved. I was like, Evie! I was like, Vegina! I was going back and forth. I was switching teams.
Oh, no, completely. I was like, bring it. Ooh, do it. No, and get up. I was like dance momming.
Yeah.
Like, bring it. Like, it was crazy.
I was being very bisexual. I was switching teams back and forth.
The high noon hit, let me say that.
All this to say that both Vegina and Evie really did a great job of getting that lip sync going. They were fighting for their lives.
When it got to the breakdown, maybe because Ricky and I were screaming, show us the words, and pointing to our mouths, the two of them went right up to the judges and showed that they knew every single word. They were enunciating all of the words. Every word was displayed crystal clear for the judges to see during that part. Probably because we talked about no one knowing the words last week.
They came back saying, we know the words.
We know the word. It was so cunty.
I think they both brought different things to it. Evie is great with emoting in the face, and because she had her like signature teeth in too, and the contacts that she uses with that great mug that she always has. Looking at her face was enthralling when she was lip syncing. And then Vegina, on the other hand, you could tell that she put some work into knowing this lip sync in case she, had to go do her thing. And you know what? If you stay ready, you don't gotta get ready. And she was hitting choreo in that chorus.
She was busting the choreo out, I will say that.
I wish a little bit more had come from her face, and I think that might have really propelled her forward a bit more, but really it was close. It was so close.
I think what put Evie over the edge was her use of the stage. She got up in the front, she moved left to right, she went back to front, she used the entire stage in a way that left Vegina behind her on the stage. And I wish that Vegina had spent more time fighting for space in the front of the stage so that she wasn't being blocked by Evie. And I'm not gonna say that it was malicious or inappropriate for Evie to do that. Even if it's a lip sync for your life, you should be lip syncing like you are alone. You need to own the entire stage and not worry about what that other person is doing. So I don't blame her for taking up all of the space in the front. Towards the end of the lip sync, Vegina did take the opportunities to make space in the front, stand her ground, and have the focus be on her. I wish she had done it earlier. Things might have turned out differently for her.
Yes, I think at some points, there was a couple points where it bordered on like, okay, Evie, let it up a tiny bit, because Vegina was trying to get back up a little bit, but I don't think it actually went over the line. When the lip sync was complete, there was a long pause from the judges, a long pause. The tension was noticeable in the air. I do think that this was a very difficult decision for the judges At least it felt like that to the audience. We heard a couple Hail Marys in the audience. All right, I don't know who they were Hail Marying for, but there were some Hail Marys. And after this long pause, Evie got the Shantae You Stay. So unfortunately, Regina George had to sashay away. Do you think that the judges made the right decision this week?
As absolutely distraught as I am at seeing Vagina go, if we're looking at the lip sync, I think Evie took the win for the lip sync. What do you think?
I agree. I think Evie's facial expressions and use of the stage really took her over to that winning position compared where it was really close. And yeah, she did what she had to do. And unfortunately, even though I'm also devastated because I was really looking forward to seeing what else Vagina had to bring, but unfortunately we won't be seeing that.
You screamed robbed.
I did not scream robbed.
You screamed robbed.
I don't know, that was the high noons. That was the high noons. I knew Evie won. I just really wanted Vagina to stay. It was really close. I really do think, like, had Vagina stayed, there was an argument for her winning it. But, like, there was a good argument for Evie winning it, too. I really love Vagina's drag. I love, like, what she brings. I love that she's not just, like, a dancer. Like, you know what I mean? I really appreciate that she's, like, comedy-oriented. I think she's a great host. I think she has creative ideas. And she's done so much for the community and, like, has brought her drag so forward that I went from initially like not noticing her very much to like very quickly being like, oh, that's one of the funniest, coolest people. If she puts on a show, I want to see it. So I'm devastated to see her go, but I'm excited to see what else she brings to drag in general in Buffalo.
This past year has been the rise of Vagina George. Let's be very clear on that. I too am devastated because I can't even imagine the new and creative things that Vagina would show us through this competition, and I'm devastated that I don't get to see that in the competition now.
Yeah, so if I did shout robbed, that's exactly why I shouted robbed. Just because I was really looking forward to seeing everything she had to bring. Week 1 was amazing. She was one of my favorites. So the fact that this is what set her out was so devastating to me, but unfortunately, that's just not one of her strong suits. And I think she did a lot to prepare, knowing that it wasn't, but it just, unfortunately, she didn't take the win. No, it's unfortunate because it was a great lip sync. Like, maybe this should have been a double Shantae.
I thought it was going to be because Mary Jane paused for so long. I was like, oh, thank God we're not saying goodbye to Vagina.
I think in her heart she really wanted to.
You think she almost said it?
I don't know. I think it was close, but I think for production, you know, someone still had to go. And with that, we wrap up this week's episode of The Pit Stop.
Next week is episode 3, The Ball.
And you can catch Underground's Drag Race live every Sunday, 7:30 doors at Underground Nightclub.
And don't forget to like and subscribe to the official Underground's Drag Race YouTube channel
For more of The Pit Stop and plenty of other content. 4Play's crown remains untouched.
Eat a bag of dicks.